This is message number 11 of Lead the Field, today's greatest adventure. And as I'll explain in a moment, the word today in the title is meant literally. In record number 3, A Worthy Destination, we talked about the necessity of having a goal toward which we're working. That since the definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, it's impossible to be successful without knowing where we're going, what it is we're working toward. Since that time, you've heard 7 messages on other subjects, and one of the purposes of this message is to ask you to reaffirm your goal, or if you still haven't settled upon one, to do so now, and to tell you of a way that works wonderfully in achieving your goals, one after another, in the years ahead. A goal sometimes seems too far off, and our progress often appears so painfully slow that we have a tendency to lose heart. It sometimes seems that we'll never make the grade, and we come close to falling back into the old habits which, while they may be comfortable now, lead to nowhere. Now, there's a way to beat this. It's been used successfully by many of the world's most successful people, and it's been advocated by many of the greatest thinkers. It's to live one day at a time. A lifetime is comprised of days, strung together into weeks, months, and years. Let's reduce it to its lowest common denominator, a single day, and then still further, to each act of the day. Look at it this way. A successful life is nothing more than a lot of successful days put together. It's going to take so many days to reach your goal. If this goal is to be reached in a minimum of time, every day must count. Think of a single day as a building block with which you're building the tower of your life. Just as a stonemason can only put one stone in place at a time, you can only live one day at a time. And it's the way in which these stones are placed which will determine the beauty and strength of your tower. If each stone is successfully placed, the tower will be a success. If, on the other hand, they're put down in a hit-or-miss fashion, the whole thing's going to be shaky and look pretty bad. Now, this may seem to be a rather elementary way of looking at it, but I want to make it clear. And it's a good and logical way of looking at a human life. All right, take it then, one day at a time, from the time we wake up in the morning until we drop off to sleep again at night. Now, each day consists of a series of acts of all kinds, and the success of a day depends upon the successful completion of each of these acts. If everything we do during the day is a success, that is, done in the best fashion of which we're capable, we can fall asleep that night in the comfortable knowledge that we've done our very best, that our day has been a success, that one more stone has been successfully put into place. Now, this is the way to really live. Do each day all that can be done that day. You don't need to overwork or to rush blindly into your work trying to do the greatest possible number of things in the shortest possible time. Don't try to do tomorrow's or next week's work today. It's not the number of things you do necessarily, but the efficiency of each separate action that counts. Gradually, you'll find yourself increasing the number of acts and perform them all much more efficiently. To get the habit of success, and that's why successful people go from one success to another, because it's a habit with them, to get the habit of success, you need only to succeed in each small act each day. This makes a successful day. Enough of these and you have a successful week, month, year, and lifetime. This is why I say success is not a matter of luck, far from it. It can be absolutely predicted and guaranteed, and anyone can achieve it by following this plan. Almost before you realize it, you'll have achieved your goal. In looking back, you'll realize that your success was not attributable to any one day, week, or month, but rather it was the consistent, unrelenting, successful succession of single days that turned the trick. This is the way a skyscraper, a home, or a human life is successfully built. One successful day at a time, and each day, one successful act at a time. In order to advance to the place you've chosen, 2 things are necessary. 1, that you keep your eye on your goal, and 2, that you outgrow your present size as a person. I don't mean this last from the standpoint of weight, but rather of competence, ability. Don't get impatient. Don't let the hundreds of little distractions which each day try to get you off course bother you. Pay no attention to them. Shake them off and stay steadily on the track. Concentrate on each act of the day from morning to night and do each successfully. Know full well that if each of your acts is performed successfully, or at least a great majority of them, your life has to be successful. There's no other answer. There's no way on earth to avoid it. The person who is certain to advance is the one who's too big for his job and who has a clear concept of what he wants to be, who knows that he can become what he wants to become, and who is determined to be what he wants to be. Remind yourself at this time that people become exactly what they make up their minds to become, and who never deviate from their chosen goal. Are you too big for your present job? If it's obvious to you that you are, it's obvious to others. Actually, people are not given promotions as a rule. They promote themselves by becoming too big for their jobs, and by making up their minds exactly what bigger and better job or income they're shooting for. And this is done by taking one day at a time, and one act at a time during each day. But how do we separate the important acts from the unimportant? Did you ever hear of the single idea for which a man was paid $25,000? It was worth every penny of it. And if you'll please turn this record over, I'll tell you the story. This is a true story. It's been told many times since it occurred, and it's worth telling again. Charles Schwab, who was then president of the Bethlehem Steel Company, had granted an interview to an efficiency expert named Ivy Lee. Lee was telling Mr. Schwab how his firm could help him do a better job of managing the company. And Mr. Schwab broke in to say something to the effect that he wasn't managing as well now as he knew how to. He went on to tell Ivy Lee that what was needed wasn't more knowing, but a lot more doing. He said, "We know what we should be doing. Now, if you can show us a better way of getting it done, I'll listen to you and pay you anything within reason you ask." Lee then said that he could give him something in 20 minutes that would increase his action by at least 50%. He then handed Charles Schwab a blank sheet of paper and said, "Write down on this paper the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow." Mr. Schwab did, and it took about 3 minutes. Lee then said, "Now number them in the order of their importance to you and the company." That took about 5 minutes. And then Lee said, "Now put the paper in your pocket, and the first thing tomorrow morning, take it out and look at item number 1. Don't look at the others, just number 1, and start working on it, and stay with it until it's completed. Then take item number 2 the same way, then number 3, and so on until you quit for the day. Don't worry if you've only finished 1 or 2. You'll be working on the most important ones. The others can wait. If you can't finish them all by this method, you couldn't have finished them with any other method. And without some system, you'd probably take 10 times as long to finish them, and might not even have them in the order of their importance. Do this every working day," Lee went on. "After you've convinced yourself of the value of this system, have your men try it. Try it as long as you like, and then send me your check for whatever you think the idea is worth." Well, the entire interview hadn't taken more than a half hour. In a few weeks, Mr. Schwab sent Ivy Lee a check for $25,000, with a letter saying the lesson was the most profitable from a money standpoint that he had ever learned in his life. And it was later said that in 5 years, this was the plan that was largely responsible for turning what was then a little-known steel company into the biggest independent steel producer in the world. It also helped make Charles Schwab $100 million. One idea. The idea of taking things one at a time in their proper order, of staying with one act until it's successfully completed before going on to the next, of living one day at a time. For the next 30 days, try the $25,000 idea in your own life. Tonight, write on a slip of paper the 6 most important things you have to do. Then number them in the order of their importance. Tomorrow morning, go to work on number 1, and stay with it until it's successfully completed. Then move to number 2, and so on. When you've finished with all 6, get another piece of paper and repeat the process. You'll be amazed and delighted at the order it brings into your life, and at the new rate of speed with which you'll be able to accomplish the things that need doing in the order of their importance. This simple but tremendously effective method will take all the confusion out of your life. You'll never find yourself running around in circles wondering what to do next. Remember, as you do, to live the best you can one day at a time. You need not worry about tomorrow or the next day or what's going to happen at the end of the month. One day at a time, handled successfully, will carry you over every hurdle. It'll solve every problem. You can relax in the happy knowledge that successful acts make successful days, which in turn make a successful life. This is the kind of unassailable logic no one can argue with. It'll work every time for every person. So often youngsters in school worry about a passing grade. They think of all they'll have to do before the end of the school year. They can stop worrying completely and count on excellent grades by following this course of action. Freshmen in high school and college are frequently plagued by doubts as to whether or not they'll be able to successfully complete the 4 years ahead and graduate. 4 years seem like such a long time to them, almost forever, and sometimes leads to a sort of giving up, a fear of failure. It was the great Harvard teacher and psychologist William James who said, in effect, let no student worry about the success of his efforts. If he will do each day as best he can the work which is before him, he'll wake up one day to find himself one of the competent ones of his generation. Student, housewife, older person, or breadwinner, this plan removes doubt, fear, and worry. All any of us needs to do is face each day as it comes, in good cheer, knowing that we have only to succeed today to guarantee our future. In this way, we'll move steadily ahead, growing more competent, more confident with the passing of every day. Others may seem to suddenly shoot up faster and possibly fall much farther and operate in spurts and fits, but it's to the steady that the rewards are eventually paid. St. Edmund of Canterbury was right when he said to somebody, work as though you would live forever, but live as though you would die today. Try writing down the 6 most important things you have to do, then number them in the order of their importance. First thing tomorrow morning, tackle number 1 and stay with it until it's completed. If something should force its delay, move on to number 2. But take them in order and finish them in order as best you can. Don't get sidetracked by people or things in successfully accomplishing each act of your day. There's nothing mysterious or capricious about achieving outstanding success. It's completely within our individual control and is absolutely predictable. It is simply a matter of doing certain things a certain way every day. That's all there is to it. There is no valid reason on earth why you should not become really successful in your field, your home life, and your community. Remember that everything in the entire limitless universe operates on the law of cause and effect. There are no exceptions to this. Nothing happens by accident. For every result, there is a cause. You have only to take care of the cause. The effect will always, without exception, take care of itself. Good cause, good effect. No cause, no effect. Bad cause, bad effect. It's as reliable as the rising of the sun. This business of living one day at a time, the best we can, has an almost unbelievable cumulative effect for good, for success in the things we want. Sometimes when we see a bricklayer starting on a building and putting the first brick in place, we're struck by the size of the job he has ahead of him. But one day, almost before we realize it, he's finished. All the hundreds of bricks are in place, each one vital to the finished structure, each one sharing its portion of the load. And so should be the days of a human life. We'll be proud and happy with the finished product. Thank you.